The silence in the imperial throne hall was absolute. Not the practiced stillness of obedient courtiers, nor the expectant hush of politicians awaiting command, but a breathless void where anticipation and fear held dominion. Outside the reinforced glass dome that crowned the room, stars hung in an artificial dusk, slowly rotating with the orbital station that housed the core of the empire. Then, motion. A figure broke from the shadows near the base of the dais, dressed in the muted gray of an assistant. Too quick. Too sharp. The angle of his approach was wrong. Even before his hand darted toward his belt, the guards moved, but they would be too slow. The blade, shimmering with magnetic distortion, cleared its sheath. The man lunged, and Kalara moved. She was a streak of black and steel, intercepting the would-be assassin mid-leap. One hand snatched his wrist, the other drove the edge of her gauntlet against his throat. A soft crack. He collapsed at the foot of the emperor's throne, gurgling. Guards shouted. Ministers screamed. A noble fainted. Kalara Vos stood over the fallen man, her breathing calm, posture relaxed, as if she hadn't just killed someone in full view of the galactic elite. The emperor rose slowly from his throne, his expression unreadable beneath the silver markings painted across his skin, symbols of unity, tradition, and divine rule. He looked at Kalara, then at the corpse. Finally, to the hall. Let it be known, he said, voice steady, that loyalty needs no number, only precision. The silence shattered into chaos. Hours later, the footage leaked. Grainy surveillance caught the final seconds of the attack. The blurred face of the assassin. The sudden strike. But what the galaxy truly saw was her. A woman, moving with speed and finality, ending a life with brutal grace. Not in armor, but in the formal blacks of the Emperor's inner circle. Not hidden behind a squad of elite soldiers, but alone. One woman. One protector. The HoloNet spiraled into frenzy. Theories bloomed like wildfire. Who was she? Where were the Emperor's usual bodyguards? Was this staged? Was it magic? Was it a weapon? Was she human? By morning, Kalara's name was on 1,000 watchlists. By midday, her face adorned propaganda posters and paranoid briefings across a dozen systems. By nightfall, 3 border worlds had declared their discontent, citing unprecedented militarization of Imperial protection forces as a threat to peace. Inside the Emperor's private chamber, Kalara stood before the man she had sworn to protect, watching as he deactivated another blinking report. "They're afraid of you," he said simply. "They should be," she replied. He offered a ghost of a smile. "That's not exactly diplomatic." Kalara didn't return the expression. Her stance remained upright, relaxed but always coiled. She never truly rested. They weren't afraid of the last 6 bodyguards, and they're dead. Is that the kind of diplomacy you want? The Emperor turned away, walking toward the viewport. Below them spun the jewel of the core world, Aurelian Prime. Pale blue, radiant, serene. Deceptive. "I chose you for a reason," he said. "But I didn't expect the galaxy to react like this." "You chose me because I'm the only one who didn't lie during the tests," she said. "And because I told you the truth when no one else would." "You told me I was a fool." Kalara shrugged. "You were." There was a long pause. Then he laughed, not a royal chuckle but a real, tired laugh. Outside the chamber, the council seethed. High Lord Magistrate Oral paced the circular chamber of the Council of 12, fury simmering beneath his ceremonial robes. "This is unacceptable. We entrust our sovereign's life to a rogue." "She's not a rogue," corrected Chancellor Levis, though his tone lacked conviction. "She was vetted. Highly decorated." "She's a mercenary," Oral snapped. "Brought in from some fringe system where they eat each other for sport. She's not even imperial. Neither was the last emperor's shadow. That was different. That was a time of war. And now is peace?" Oral didn't answer. The others didn't press. The room smelled of old smoke and nervous sweat. "She makes us look weak," muttered the youngest counselor, Morel. "As if we don't trust our own forces." "She makes you feel weak," came a dry voice from the doorway. Kalara stepped in without fanfare. A dozen hands twitched toward hidden weapons, but she ignored them. Her eyes swept the room, calm, cold, assessing. "I'm here by order of the Emperor," she said. "You don't like me. That's fine. But I'm not here to protect your pride." "You overstep," Oral began, but she cut him off with a look. "I've already stopped one attempt on the Emperor's life. There will be more. Do you have proof?" "I don't need proof. I have pattern." The assassin wasn't alone. He was skilled, trained, not fanatical, which means a chain of command. Someone sent him. She paused, letting the silence sharpen. "I'm going to find them, and when I do, I won't need your permission." She left them speechless, and very, very afraid. Later, alone in her quarters, Kalara stripped off the formal jacket and sat by the edge of her cot. The room was bare. A desk, a terminal, a weapon rack, and a single photo. An old, weather-worn image of a girl holding a wooden sword, standing on a dusty training field. She reached out and touched the frame. 47 seconds, said a voice from the door. She turned. The Emperor, unescorted, in a simple tunic, tired around the eyes. "You timed it," she asked. "I always do." She nodded once. "That's slow. I'm out of practice." He walked in and sat opposite her. "No throne here, no titles." "You've made yourself a target," he said. "Even more than me." "I've always been a target," she replied. "But now everyone knows it." She didn't answer. After a moment, he leaned forward. "Tell me, Kalara, do you believe in fear as a weapon?" "Only when wielded with purpose." "And what's yours?" She looked him in the eye. "Survival." Outside, the galaxy turned slowly in the dark. On the fringes of the known systems, war drums began to beat, soft at first, like echoes through the void. In the shadows of politics, conspirators whispered of replacements, of coups, of how one woman had become the fulcrum on which the empire balanced. She had saved the Emperor. Now they would see if she could save the empire, and if she was willing to burn it all to do so. The corridors of the Imperial Archives ran deep beneath the surface of Aurelian Prime, deeper than most dared to imagine. Kalara walked in silence through the ancient halls, her boots striking soft echoes against polished obsidian floors. The archives were supposedly a vault of history, open only to scholars and select officials, but what she sought now was not history, it was origin. She stopped before a sealed door etched with language older than the empire itself. The glyphs shimmered faintly as she keyed her authorization, a cipher that few even knew existed. The door opened with a whisper of displaced air. Inside, the chamber glowed with pale light. Holographic records floated above pedestals, coded in dialects long dead. She ignored them all and approached the only solid object in the room, a black cube sealed in a glass vault. Her fingers hovered over the console. Just one scan, and the truth would be exposed. The assassin hadn't been random. The way he moved, the way he fought, it matched tactics she hadn't seen in years. Tactics from the Valkyr Reclamation Corps. Her old unit. Her hand hesitated. The door behind her slid open without warning. "You're not supposed to be here," said a voice. Kalara turned slowly, eyes narrowing. Commander Ren Vash stood in the doorway, flanked by 2 junior officers. His uniform was immaculate, his posture smug. "Neither are you," she replied. Ren smirked. "I was sent to audit potential internal leaks. This chamber was flagged. Your access came up. You're tracking me now?" "Not me. The Council." She stepped forward. "Then tell the Council to grow a spine and come themselves." He raised an eyebrow. "So hostile. You always were charming, Kale." "Don't call me that." The air between them thickened. Memories pressed forward, fire and metal, screams in the static of battlefield comms, and Ren's voice at her back, before everything turned to betrayal. He stepped closer. "They want you gone. Quietly. Retired, relocated, maybe honored posthumously in a few years." She didn't move. "And what do you want?" He smiled, thin and cold. "I want you to stop digging." She looked back at the cube behind her. "That's not happening." "Then I hope you've updated your will." The lights flickered once. Subtle, almost unnoticeable. By the time they came back, Kalara was gone. Above, the council chamber erupted into tension. High Lord Magistrate Oral slapped a report onto the table, red warning tags bleeding down its holographic edge. She accessed sealed records tied to Operation Hollow Veil. That's classified to pre-imperial clearance levels. Counselor Morel leaned forward. What the hell is Operation Hollow Veil? Oral ignored the question. She's violating protocol. Undermining oversight. She has absolute access. And she's using it. She's doing her job, Chancellor Levis muttered. She's doing more than her job, Oral snapped. She's digging into things best left buried. We assigned her to uncover the truth, Morel said, frowning. Now that she's doing it, we want her stopped? No, Oral said darkly. Now that she's getting close, we need her stopped. In the Emperor's personal war room, far from the eyes of the council, Kalara stood before a star map that shimmered with potential warfronts. Red lines spidered outward from the core worlds. 3 outer systems had already withdrawn ambassadors. Trade routes were choking. The pressure was mounting. You knew, she said quietly. The Emperor didn't answer immediately. Kalara turned to him. You knew the assassin's movements matched Valkyr training. You knew Hollow Veil was involved. And you still didn't tell me. I couldn't be sure. You're the Emperor. You don't get to play coy. His face tightened. You think I can simply do as I wish? That power here is absolute? You've seen the council. You know the factions. Then why keep me in the dark? Because I wasn't ready to send you back there. The words hung in the room like smoke. Kalara's fists clenched. You think I'm not ready? I think you shouldn't have to go back. You made me your only shield, and now you think protecting me is your priority? He stepped forward. You saved my life. I trust you more than anyone. But this is the shadow of your past. If you face it alone, it will consume you. She held his gaze. Then send me with a fleet. We can't afford the optics of war. Then give me silence. That night, Kalara left the palace in an unmarked vessel. She landed on the edge of Fringe Sector 9, a mining colony long abandoned by law. Dust devils spun through the market square. Traders bartered under rusted awnings. She moved like smoke through the streets, her presence a whisper. In a corner bar, she found what she was looking for. Jexi Tal, ex-intelligence officer, smuggler, and information broker. Once her superior. Now a liability. He saw her and stiffened. Kalara. She sat opposite him. Jexi. I'm clean. I haven't run intel in years. I'm not here for that. He licked his lips. You're hunting ghosts. They're not dead. He shook his head. Operation Hollow Veil was scorched. You don't walk away from that. I did. He exhaled. Barely. You and a graveyard of secrets. She leaned in. The man who tried to kill the Emperor was Valkyr trained. Maybe Excor. That ring any bells? He looked down. There were rumors. After the collapse, some of the command hierarchy went rogue. Blacklisted ops. Dirty merc work. Who's running them? No one knows. But there's a name whispered in the outer channels. Something old. Something imperial. She narrowed her eyes. Say it. Jexi hesitated. Dominion. She stood. That's all I needed. Before she reached the door, he asked, if they come for me, they will. He swallowed. Will you protect me? No. She left without another word. Back aboard her vessel, she pulled up the old Dominion protocols. They were remnants of an ancient pre-empire doctrine, black cell divisions that acted without oversight. Created in desperation. Disbanded in shame. If they were active again, it wasn't just a coup in motion, it was a resurrection. She pinged the Emperor a secure message. Dominion confirmed. Rogue cells exist. Command structure unclear. Trust no one. Initiating silent trace. Will proceed alone. The reply came minutes later. Be careful. They fear you now more than ever. She stared at the words. Back in the palace, the Emperor stood at the viewport again, watching as the stars turned. Behind him, Chancellor Levis approached. She's gone underground. I know. She might not survive. The Emperor didn't answer. Levis stepped forward. You care for her. She saved me. There are others who would die for you. She doesn't just die for me, he said. She thinks for me, fights for me, challenges me. That is more dangerous than any council traitor. Levis hesitated. Then why send her alone? The Emperor looked out toward the dark. Because if I sent anyone else, she would not forgive me. Kalara's ship slipped into deep space, transponders dark. She was hunting ghosts now, not just the enemies of the Empire, but the ones inside herself. The girl from the war-torn fringe who learned to kill. The soldier who followed orders too closely. The protector who became a weapon. She would find the Dominion. And when she did, she would burn it all down. The galaxy had underestimated her once. They would not live to do it again. The station hung in the void like a corpse, all lights extinguished, hull pitted from ancient battles, drifting in the gravitational eddy between two dead stars. Kalara's ship approached with stealth systems active, no beacons, no chatter. Her fingers danced across the console, eyes flickering as sensor readings scrolled in silence. There were life signs. Sparse. Suppressed. Dominion. She landed without request, bypassing the rusted docking interface and sliding into the breach like a phantom. The air inside smelled of ozone, metal, and something older, decay, perhaps, or memory. Her boots made no sound. Her weapons were ready. Kalara had come alone, not for lack of allies, but because she trusted no one. Not anymore. The inner corridors were dim, lit only by failing red strips along the floors. Her visor parsed movement. 2 heat signatures, human, both armed. She ghosted past them, her training allowing her to move in the blind spots between their patrols. The patterns were precise, textbook. Dominion conditioning hadn't weakened. She reached the core access node and connected a probe. A soft hum. A flicker. Then, files began to spool across her lens. Operation Hollow Veil. Valkyr Core. Asset Convergence. Civilian Manipulation Protocols. And one file tagged with her name. She paused. The file unfolded like a confession. She had never been just a soldier. She'd been selected. Enhanced. Not biologically, but psychologically, subjected to controlled trauma, simulations, near-death trials. Her loyalty had been crafted in the heat of orchestrated suffering. The battles she thought she'd survived by grit alone had been tests. And she had passed every one. Beneath the file header was a date. 1 week from now. A new operation. Imperial Succession Contingency. Her name was on the execution roster. Not as assassin. As target. The chamber door opened behind her. Kalara turned smoothly, blade in hand. The figure who entered wore no insignia, but his posture was unmistakable. Command. Didn't think you'd come alone, he said. I'm not afraid of you, she replied. But you shouldn't be afraid. You should be angry. Why? Because he lied to you. Kalara tilted her head. The man stepped closer, unarmed. The Emperor knew about Hollow Veil. About Dominion. About your origin. He knew you were the linchpin. This was all planned. He didn't plan the attempt on his life. No. But he knew someone would try. And he knew you'd stop them. You were the bait. The symbol. Kalara's grip tightened. You're bluffing. Am I? The man held up a chip. This is from the palace. Embedded authorization key. Signed by the Emperor himself. Your appointment wasn't protection. It was provocation. She hesitated only a second. It was enough. From the walls, 2 agents dropped. She moved without thought, slashing left, driving elbow right, twisting and breaking free. One went down with a shattered throat. The other managed a shot that grazed her arm before she put him down with a shot between the eyes. The commander didn't flinch. I told you. You were made for this. She closed the distance between them in a blink, blade against his throat. Tell me why. He smiled. Because they needed a weapon who could think. And a mind that would question orders only if it helped the mission. They built you to be loyal enough to protect him. But dangerous enough, she whispered, To scare everyone else. She pulled the blade across his neck. As his body slumped, she snatched the chip and ran. She made it back to her ship on pure instinct, bleeding, breath ragged. The chip interfaced with her console, unlocking a transmission code buried under 6 layers of false encryption. It opened a recording. The Emperor's face appeared, weary, his eyes shadowed. "If you're seeing this," he said, "then you've learned what I could not tell you directly. I asked for a protector, but the Council gave me a weapon. You." He looked away, then back. "I let it happen. Not because I wanted to use you, but because I needed someone who could survive what was coming. They're coming for me, Kalar. And when they do, I won't survive it. But you might." Kalara's breath slowed. Her fingers were numb. "I didn't plan for the assassin," he said. "But I knew someone would strike. You were the only one I trusted to face it. Because you already had. Over and over again. You were forged in fire before I ever met you." He hesitated. "If I'm gone, the Council will fracture the Empire. Unless someone makes them fear something more. Not an army. A person." The message ended. The ship sat in silence. Kalara stared at the stars. When she returned to the core, the palace was burning. Smoke choked the air, anti-air batteries lay silent, and the throne hall stood shattered. The Emperor's body was found 3 days later, deep in the underlevels. Assassinated. The Council declared emergency succession. Power fractured into 3 factions. A war of words began. Skirmishes on border worlds. Riots in the trade sectors. And then the rumors began. Of a woman, dressed in black, striking without warning. Of entire Dominion cells wiped out in the night. Of traitors disappearing, files erased, black sites incinerated. Some called her a ghost. Some called her vengeance. All feared her. And then, one day, a message appeared on every secure channel across the galaxy. No name. No origin. Just a voice. "If you plan the Emperor's death, I will find you. If you serve those who did, I will dismantle you. Piece by piece. There is no safety in numbers. No shield in power. I am the last blade. And I have no more masters." She had no empire behind her. But the galaxy had already seen what she could do alone. And it was terrified.